meeting to order. Would someone move item 1.02?
Move it.
Second.
Discussion? Any additions or corrections?
No, there are no additions that I'm aware of. I think we're all set.
All right, all those in favor? I am a yes, Mrs. Perry.
Very good. Mr. DeJalorme?
Yes.
Mr. Cordone? Mrs. Lyons?
Yes.
Dave? Mrs. Albagore?
I'm back.
Brenda was bumped off. She's back on.
Back. So is that a yes? Are you asking for a roll call?
Yes, please.
Okay, yes.
Thank you. So,
Did Mr. Cordone respond, Mrs. Perry?
no.
Mr. Cordone, can you hear me?
Says he's on there.
Yep, I don't know if he is.
There he is.
There he is.
Okay. So, Mr. Cordone, we are, I'm looking for a vote to approve the November 10th agenda. Okay. I have 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Do you have a quorum still? One?
I do. He's back. I'm going to ask him. I'm going to try this again.
Okay.
Mr. Cordone, are you with us? Dave? I don't think he's hearing me.
No.
Okay,
Oh, you can hear me now? Okay.
I can. I've got you.
Okay. Dave,
My
Mrs.
son,
Perry-
my son used the Chromebook, and so the settings were all wrong. Thanks.
Mrs. Perry is looking for your yay or nay on action item 1.02, approving the agenda. There were no additions or corrections.
I approve. Yes.
Thank you. This brings me to just remind folks that in lieu of public forum, we ask people to send us your questions or comments to clerk@fulton.cnyric.org. You may find that on the district's webpage. Item 1.04.
Move it.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Perry, I'm a yes.
Very good. Okay. Mrs. Lyons?
Yes.
Mrs. Albagore?
Yes.
Mr. DeJalorme?
Yes.
And Mr. Cordone?
I abstained because I was absent.
Okay, this brings us to the president's report. Are there any questions regarding the upcoming meetings? All right,
No.
Pardon me?
No.
I have item number 6. It's, want to do a recap of the convention. So what I would like is, Mr. Mr. Cordone, if you'd kick that off and just let us know how the voting went. You were a voting delegate.
Yeah, the resolutions all went as the resolutions committee had recommended. There were no surprises there, and I believe they were mostly consistent with our positions as a board. The business meeting was really interesting, and it did last a full 4 hours. So a lot of good dialogue, and it was interesting that, you know, we were still using a format like this to have dialogue and communication. But I thought it went very well overall, and I have not seen, but I know that NISBA usually shares the final outcome of all the resolutions to everyone.
Thank you.
Yep,
So
you're welcome.
the next thing I would like to ask each of my colleagues, or those of you who are willing to, if you could give me your 1 or 2 highlights of the convention for those that attended. Lynn?
I went away with a lot of good information on different things, and I don't have my notes with me. I put them somewhere else, but I really learned a lot. In fact, I shared quite a bit with you, Robin. It was pretty interesting. I kind of enjoyed. I think I got more out of it watching it virtually than I have in the past, being in there. I don't know what else to say. I'll get my notes if you want to ask somebody else, and then I can come back.
Yeah, I will. I'm Nick.
Yes, I'm looking for notes. Found them. All right, I did the pre-law, which was 2 half days instead of 1 full day, which was nice. 1 full day sitting, even in person, sitting through it for a full day, you lose a lot of information. And then the other one that I had down that I really enjoyed was on equity. And they talked a lot about the special needs folks and ensuring that there was equitable distribution of services and so forth. So one term that stuck was FAPE, free appropriate public education, and it's just that it's a must. It must be consistent and creative for all students. So I hadn't heard that term before.
It's been around a long time. Yep.
Okay.
But thank you. I appreciate that. I want to, first of all, pay my compliments to Mrs. Geithner. She presented and did a great job. I was so proud. As always, outstanding work that you do, and it showcased the great work that you and your folks here in the Fulton team are doing with regard to our social emotional wellness, our approach to that. And as always, I always learn something every time I listen. There's always something more to pick up, and so thank you for doing that. And again, thank you to all of our staff that embrace this belief that we need to address the social and emotional wellness of our students. I also did some sessions in finance, surprise, surprise, and was able to have a couple of interesting conversations with our superintendent. There were some things that were brought to mind. I would say the one session was with a gentleman who works for the comptroller's office, and he shared a number of items, but one thing that stood out was he called it good practice. And he talked about budget committees involving stakeholders. I found that very interesting. We used to do that years ago. And the second thing I listened to was a session, and was quite surprised. It was actually Mike Vespi was one of the presenters from Forecast 5. And he was able to impart some knowledge to me that I was not aware of. So I hope to bring that to the table and I will be sharing with all of you when the time's appropriate. So I thank you all for attending, and appreciate what each of you will be able to bring to our conversations as the appropriate conversations present themselves. Superintendent Palvino, I don't know if you wanted to comment on the convention or not. I know you did some work.
I thought it was terrific. I actually sat in on the comptroller one as well, and then I watched Jerry's, which was fantastic. And I sat in on a couple of others that I caught, and I thought they were quite good. And I also started to, with all the conferences, I like to download all the presentations. They are open. I want to remind everybody till the 31st. And I did the same thing when I have the superintendent's conference. I go in and I actually, the ones I'm not able to go to, I pull down their PowerPoints, and they're very enlightening. There's a lot of good information in those as well. So I thought it was beneficial. It got me thinking about, one, I could have done one of the presentations on one of the finance ones, and they had shared a lot of the information that we had shared right along, which is around the $14 billion deficit, around the 20%. I was like, wow, every point he had, I'm like, oh, all right, we shared that with our board. So I felt like we had moved that information to you, and it's been quiet for a couple of months. I was just remarking to my team, and I think the one that you and I talked about, Mike's presentation, Mike Vestby's presentation, around with the Forecast 5, you're going to see more of that this year. We actually have a meeting with him this Thursday, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in the budget part of today's conversation as we get ready to ramp up for that. And I think, and also the budget committees, I think we're going to have some conversation about that as well a little bit later this evening. So again, it sparked some great conversation, and it aligned with some of the work we've been doing right along. And as we get ready to not only in the short term, what over the next couple of months, but what we need to really plan for over the next couple of years. So again, I thought it was a great conference, and the timing was right for many of those presentations. I thought they did a really nice job.
Thank you.
Robin?
Yep.
Yes.
One of the things that I did listen to, I was on the boards and superintendents working together towards a culture. And one of the things I think we need to do as a board is offer more to our new board members. I don't think we give them enough to know exactly what they're doing. I know when I came on board, I was not really given too much as to how to work things, what you can say, what you can't. And I just think that it's very important so everybody has a good, we work together well. The other thing that I listened to was strategies for effective board meetings. And someone had asked, and it kind of pertained to us too, so I listened, and it was about when you get an email from a community member, and it's directed at each and every one of your board members, how to answer it, and if you should. And what they said was, no one should really answer an email by themselves, even though it's directed to each and every one of us, unless we've had conversation on it. And that's just what this presentation, had said about it. And I know I asked questions before about that, how to answer an email from somebody. And it was funny that came up and they talked about it. So that was another thing I took from that too.
Well, that's great. And just as a reminder, yes, we all get copied on emails that come into the clerk now. And there is a message letting people know that it's received. So no one has to have that worry. I tested it myself to make sure that the message is working. And those typically, if we were in a public session doing a normal public question and answer, we would refer to exactly what we do in this situation. We're treating it like we would a public question, and we would refer to the superintendent. And then if the superintendent needs to come back and converse with the board, I would expect that's what would happen. So, but that's how we've been handling it. And so that's what I've been explaining to members of the public when they ask. And it's the closest thing we can come to maintaining that public opportunity for people to share their thoughts or ask their questions. So thanks for that, looking in on that, Lynn, and seeing how we're doing. It sounds like we're doing okay.
That was pretty interesting because I had asked the question, how should I answer? Can I answer? What should I do? And then they brought this the whole thing up. So it was
I'm
interesting.
really glad. No, I'm glad. It's nice. It's always good to have a checkup to make sure that we're where we should be. So thank you for that. That's good. All right. Well, that completes the president's report. I'm going to turn the evening over to Superintendent Palvino.
Thank you, Ms. Griffin. Welcome, everyone. Hope you've all been enjoying the absolutely amazing weather out there. We took a walk with my team. I saw them, they were outside. We took a little walk around the building tonight just to get a little bit of that fresh air. So thank you to getting us out there. And we actually did a little business when we were walking around the perimeter of the junior high today. So again, I hope everybody's had the opportunity. I always like to start off with our reopening update. If you'd like to pop that up there, Dan, please. That would be terrific. Getting into a very challenging time in education. Not that we haven't been in a challenging time, but the number of COVID cases increasing in the region has been very interesting to watch over the last couple of weeks. I shared with you in your board update yesterday. I don't normally do that, but I shared the cases from Friday through Monday. This past weekend in Oswego County were 105 positive cases. And today, about 5 o'clock, we received 36 cases in Oswego County. And so I think it's a testament, obviously we've had to make an adjustment today. For us, we had a second grader that had an exposure as well as a senior or a GRB student rather. And so what we're doing is we're very conservative with what we do. But I think one of the things we have to continue to do, because I think we're one of the few districts that got kindergarten through 12th grade in the immediate region, and we've done a very good job to this point. And I think right now to continue to reinforce all of the key strategies, the mask wearing, the hand washing, making sure that we're taking care of one another. And we've been doing an outstanding job with that. But we're headed into a very challenging time. I believe I saw Onondaga County, somebody indicated 8% today. And so there's a lot going on around us.